Growth Pod is brought to you by Genero, a leading growth agency in the Nordics. We interview marketing experts, business leaders, and entrepreneurs to uncover the stories and strategies behind profitable growth.
Ilkka, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Super excited to talk to you about investing, technology, startups, and all those things. But before that, want to get a little bit into your background. So before you became an investor, you were an entrepreneur, CEO. You built, I think, 2 businesses at least, but one, the most recent one, I guess, was Wycom Communications. So could you just kind of walk through the background? How did it get started? What was it like scaling that up? And what was it eventually like, making the exit to SAP?
Okay, yeah, well, actually, everything started already before that. I was also part of the journey for the PC Superstore for the B2B and B2C computer equipment and component retailing. And during that time, we were starting to experiment with the IP telephony systems for the company, and it was kind of a really no-brainer to see that the telephone systems had like a 7-year renewal cycle, and then all of the computers have the 7-month cycle, and it was coming super fast. And then when the Superstore was sold, I was 2 weeks PhD student, but then had to go back to business, and we set up the Wycom Communications. It was there was the urge that, okay, this is really happening now, and the IP stuff is really rolling over the old technology, and there is so many opportunities, and that was just very exciting. The telecom was just before the year 2000. It was really in a big hype, and so we actually focused the company, of course, while we are Finns, into the kind of a most difficult deep tech part, i.e. the call centers and contact centers. Skype was doing their thing for the consumers at the same time. I think that Niklas was bagging a little bit more money, but I think that we ended up well also. So, we got the initial funding for the company 99, and then started to fundraise for the bigger one. Then everything started to unravel, and it was a really thing that Nasdaq went from 3,500 to 600.
Wow!
While we were fundraising, and actually it went into 1,200 or something, because then it crashed when the September 11 came, and it totally crashed. So we got funded 2 months before the September 11, and kind of a thought that it was tough, but actually the tough time was just about to start, because then of course the dot-com bust and everything, it was really difficult times for many of the companies. And the thing what we didn't realize was that all of our customers were the telecom operators, and they were running out of money. So we actually had to change everything on the fly, and it was a really very kind of a tough journey, because many of the choices that we had made, it was falling apart several times. But every year we were able to still grow the company, and then 2007 we decided that, okay, maybe it's better to be part of a bigger company, and ended up then part of an SAP, and that was actually for me that was really interesting, because being a little bit over 100 people startup CEO, and trying to haul pizzas to the coders in the evenings, then suddenly becoming a senior vice president in the world's largest enterprise software company, where my boss was reporting to the CEO, and seeing all of the politics and the 100,000 people and everything. So it was kind of totally the other end. Definitely not me, but it was super interesting, and I was learning a lot during that 3 years that I was there.
But it was never like in your mind the idea of being like long term, becoming like a corporate executive at.
Yeah, I have to say that's that's not me.
Yeah.
I think that it was super interesting while being there, but I just couldn't see myself being there for a long time. I've been always kind of actually why I left was that we had a big project with Deutsche Bahn, and there was also big problems, and then I went to the customer, and they were, well, more or less screaming, and I kind of felt alive, and I realized that I hadn't seen a real customer in 6 months, and that was kind of the time that, oh Lord, that now I'm becoming a corporate kind of a animal, that I'm just doing some internal stuff and not the real thing. And I think that was kind of the final nail, that okay, I need to figure out what to do next.
I think that's interesting. It's like this idea that if you work in a restaurant, you want to work in the kitchen where the action is. Like, you don't want to be stuck in the back office doing some internal things. You want to be in, close to the customers where the development and action is.
Well, it's like I think that there is a different type of personalities, but I want to be part of the action. I want to be where the new things are created, and working with the super enthusiastic people that are really driving for the change. And I think that now I'm there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I guess that was the reason that you started Maki.vc, the venture firm that you're running now. And
yeah, well, actually, when I quit at SAP, then I was actually for 4 years more or less living out of balance sheet, and I was then at that time was part of the Startup Sauna Accelerator at the Aalto, and helping the Aalto Entrepreneurship Society people, helping to set up the Wave Ventures, helping the Startup Lifers Junction Hackathon, and then mainly also being part of the show of how to grow the Slush. And I was the chairman for Slush for 6 years.
So you've seen, I mean, both in time, you've seen from pre-dot-com bubble what the Finnish startup ecosystem looked like, and now obviously in 2025 you've had access to like Slush and all these other phenomenon. So what's your kind of assessment of the Finnish startup ecosystem today? Is it very strong? Is it lacking in some key things? Is it, what are the future prospects really, really good? What's your kind of assessment of where we are at right now?
Well, I think that it was thinking the 2009, 2010, when there was just like after the dot-com crash, there was like nothing really. That there were more or less the investors were gone, and just a few entrepreneurs. And then looking what we have today, I think that it's a day and night. And we were just talking with some colleagues that like the situation, like however bad the economy would go, that this would never come back, that all of the venture funds would be dead, and that there would be just a handful of entrepreneurs. That now the ecosystem is definitely there. And then I think that Slush has been really part of the big part of kind of the recognition that now in the Silicon Valley, more or less everyone knows where Helsinki is, and actually most have also been here. So I think that that's it's in a totally different shape, and I think that we are part of the kind of a bigger ecosystem now in Europe. Having said that, I think that the latest geopolitical hassles, it just remains to be seen that how well, or is there some effects on between the US and Europe, and maybe between the countries in Europe, because the more there is uncertainty, the kind of smaller the circles come. That you're kind of concentrating on to your core and to as close as possible if there is any hassles. And I think that now there has been some hassles on the geopolitics. Let's hope that it doesn't get any worse than this.
Yes, let's hope for sure. Given that you've been intimately involved with Slush, what was it that allowed Slush to become such a successful phenomenon? Like probably in its category, the world leading event from a little country up in the north, close to North Pole. Like how did it happen?
I think that of course, it's the the team that was building it, of course, that was the a stellar team, Miki and the people that took over. But I think that then there was the one thing that we were able to rally like more or less everyone in the Finnish scene behind Slush. So everybody was supporting it here, whether it was a corporate CEO or a minister or whomever, that everybody was kind of thinking that this is a good thing, let's do it, and kind of pitching in from all of the sides. And but I think that still, if you dig one step deeper, I think that it was the trust. That kind of giving the chance for the students to create something new, to make to kind of put your own name in the game also, that this is going to be big, and kind of trusting that it's going to be big, and like looking that you have like a 20 to 25-year-olds running a 20,000 people event, which is much better than anything like a professional that you can see. That's just how it goes when you have the right team, and then they have the mandate to execute. And I think that that's really magic, and that's the thing what the people that are coming in can also feel, that it's not just that the people are working there 9 to 5, that it's a passion project for everyone that's in there.
That's really interesting, and it probably is very true that the fact that it's a student run and it's run by volunteers still, while being at this massive scale, is something that really contributes to the experience, and probably also something that you could not really do in many countries. I don't think you'd see an event like that, student run, volunteer run, in the US. I don't know.
No, it's. I think that's the Finnish term talkoot, that kind of you come together and you help people. I think that that's something that kind of a Slush is a real incarnation of talkoot.
Okay, and it's been massively impactful, as I'm sure you know better than most people, for the Finnish startup ecosystem. Okay, so after you've built a few companies, you decided to start investing, and one of the investments, I'm guessing maybe one of the first investments you made, was in a small company called Wolt, which turned out into a very, very big, successful company. You were the first outside investor in Wolt.
Yeah.
And chairman of the board for a couple of years.
Yeah, first 4 years. Yeah.
So what made you? What did you see in Wolt that made you say, "Yeah, let's do it"?
Well, it was kind of course, the thing that at Slush I had been working with Miki and the team, and kind of seeing the crazy capability of executing and kind of getting things done and scaling things. And at the time of investment, there was very, very little from the business idea side, but it was just the team and the trust that, okay, this is the food delivery and kind of everything around it is something that's going to be big.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a bet to the founding team. That's kind of once in a while, maybe once a year, you kind of come across with that kind of a individual or team where you just say that, okay, this idea might be blah, blah, but these are just the people that I want to work with, and they really have the drive, and I feel like it's really interesting. And I think that Wolt is a really prime story on the global scale on that one, that how you have the really, really crazily good team, and the execution is, well, now you see it.
Yeah, the execution part is like super, super interesting, because to do what they did must have required some really, I mean, it's a lot of operational excellence.
Indeed, and I think that it was also that while there was always like one maybe 100th of the money that was available for the competition, I think that there was also many strategic good choices in the beginning, so that they're not going to compete with in the markets that were the big ones, where people were throwing marketing money against each other. And then the other idea that you can't kill company that has the cost, who is the kind of the cost leader, or has the most efficient product. And I think that still holds, even though that was already 10 years back, that those kind of principles that let's do blue ocean, i.e. go into the markets where there is no competition, and actually the product that is the most efficient in a market. And actually combining those is the thing, while it was then able to go into the markets where there were nobody else, and growing to so big that it was then impossible to squash anymore.
I think it's always super impressive when someone has like a simple or a clear strategy based on a few key insights, and then they stick with it and execute on it for like years after years after years.
When investing, of course, I think that everybody around the table is sharing that at the time of investment, but then I think that 9 out of 10 or 99 out of 100 times you get into different twists and turns on the way. But I think that in a big picture with Wolt, it's been a really, really very good strategy at the beginning, and very good kind of execution on that, and it was then scaling like hell.
To speak of those twists and turns, given that you had your own background as a CEO, founder, you managed a lot of problems and raised money in a very, very difficult external environment. Has that made you a better startup investor?
I don't know why you are asking that from me. Maybe that should be asked from somebody else. But I think that while we are investing, like we like to put in the first tickets or be very early in the companies, I think that's more entrepreneurial, and it's much easier to relate to the founders and their situations when you have been there on your own. Just before we started this recording, I was in contact with one of the founders that has a very tight spot at the moment, and kind of running out of money, and we are putting a nice package together for him, and kind of a part of the discussion is also the question that how is the team feeling, and how is he feeling at that situation, which is very tough. And I think that's something that once you've been on the other side, is much easier to relate, that if you just have if you wear a pinstripe and a tie, and look at the Excel sheets.
And probably also you have the credibility and trust from the founders, because they know that you've been in a similar spot.
As said, maybe you should ask somebody else.
We'll have to bring someone else on. But okay, so with Maki.vc, what was the kind of insight there that led you to found that? And can you briefly describe kind of your strategy and how you're trying to position yourself compared to other VCs, and what, you've invested now in 50 plus companies, so a little bit about the maybe focus areas that you're currently.
Yeah, with Maki, it was kind of the initial feeling was that wanting to be in the early stage, writing the first tickets, kind of trying to spot the exceptional founders, and kind of there is nothing that special on that one, but maybe the one thing also that kind of stupid to say, but I think that not everyone wants to work with those founders like that really in the late at night, and I think that's something that we have done a lot, that we're trying to be part of kind of the extended management team, and trying to be helping the companies also in the late at night and in the tough spots, and kind of that feeling is something that I felt that when setting up Maki, that kind of being part of the founding teams is one of those things, and then being super early, and then I have a technical background, but unfortunately in the investing side, oftentimes the technology is not the one that wins, but also I think that having then the idea that going into deep tech and trying to pick out and understand the companies that can be kind of scaling rapidly with the super complex technologies what there are, because I think that those are super interesting companies, because if you have a very complex technologies and then you're able to scale, it's very difficult to compete with you when you have a very high entry barriers to the market. And maybe IQM is the quantum computing company is one good example of that one, that talk about complex.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just going to say, I mean, when you're talking about technology, it's obviously not just software. What kind of balance in your portfolio? How much is software versus like, material sciences or like quantum computing? Or
I think that they are maybe half and half, but then it's also the question that what is what? That like we have a company, a German company that is doing aligners, like the Invisalign, the aligners for your teeth, and the end product is a piece of plastic. But then again, actually most of that is software.
Yes.
So kind of the back end is the secret sauce is in the software. So it's kind of I think that the hardware software is maybe oftentimes it's not the right question. It's kind of because they are very much mixed.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of that, like how do you determine which sectors, which industries to focus on? Is it just when the team is really good, or do you need to have you or someone on your team need to have some domain expertise in what they're doing?
Well, yeah. First of all, I think that while we have a totally open mandate, so being a master of everything is somewhat hard these days. But I think that maybe it goes the other way around, that kind of on investing, I feel very strongly that when you are in the super early stage, that you need to have a very strong view of the world yourself, that okay, how does the world work, how does this industry is going to evolve, and what are the things that are happening in this market, and what's the kind of incumbent situation there, or if it's a totally new that there is nothing, and you have the worldview in your head, and then you see the companies and you see the teams, and kind of if they all align, then you have an investment. That I think that it would be, at least I feel that it would be impossible to make investments if you are in the super early stage, if you have no idea of the industries or what's happening.
Yeah. So could you give kind of, I think that's really interesting about having that deep conviction and maybe some thesis of how the world is going to develop. And I'm guessing you want to get to that thesis, you want it to be correct, of course, but you want to arrive at it earlier than other investors.
Indeed. Well, that's
hard.
That's the beautiful part is that if you're reading the thing from Financial Times 3 years later, then you can just say that, well, we are here on the bus stop waiting for everyone else already.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe a good example of that is the quantum computing. That it's kind of a thing that has been coming for. It's kind of there is a strong feeling that, okay, it'll come. It's been there already for 10 years. And then when we made the investment 2019, that was just like months before the Google first experiment where they showed the quantum advantage. I think that was kind of the Wright brothers moment for quantum computing, that, okay, practically useless, but you can show that it can be done. It was before that one, and there we were really thinking hard that, okay, everyone knows that the quantum computing doesn't work. That's kind of the known fact on the streets, that if this thing folds in 6 months, that how much money do we dare to put there, that not everybody's laughing at us. But then we decided that, okay, that the team is really good. The feeling is that the timing is there, that now it's kind of so many advancements have been happening in different sides, and we were part of the initial funding round, and of course now unhappy that we didn't put more in that time, and seems like the timing was very much right, that the Google came a few months after that, and there's been now advancements there, and the company has been they have been delivering working systems in 4 years on the technology space, which is crazily complex. And I think that that's a magnificent show that how you can really also kind of when you have the customers and when you have the will, you can really make really complex things happen. And that's going to be like the next 2-3 years will be super exciting for that space. And then like talking about kind of a new areas, for example, now today there is not a working quantum computer that would be delivering real quantum advantage. And but I'm certain that it will come within the next 2, 3, 4 years. But on that moment, when the first computer works, a quantum computer works that can totally outpace the current computers, what's then? It's kind of opening a door and there is just a white space that where's all the software? I need my marketing, advertisement retargeting algorithms. I need my derivatives pricing algorithms, and I need my computational fluid dynamics algorithms for my airplanes or missiles or whatnot. So that explodes on that second. And that's something that we've been now kind of looking also that, okay, what are those companies that could be finding the next generation algorithms? Of course, today it's kind of a crazy bet because there is no platform to compute on, but that's our view that it's so close that now it's time to start that.
That's interesting. Really interesting. So you're saying we're kind of just a few years out potentially from that. And for someone like me, and I think most of the people listening, could you describe what the concrete benefits of quantum computing? Like, is it going to lead to a massive increase in compute? Is it going to dramatically lower the cost of compute? Is it going to allow for things that we previously just could not imagine? Or how is it going to change society potentially?
Well, that's it can be all of those. But I think that the initial thing is that you're most probably computing something that was not possible earlier on, that you're able now to calculate some specific things very efficiently, and kind of solving problems that you were not able to solve, where you can see the immediate benefit. I think that the kind of a dull example is from the financial markets, that if you can calculate some pricings nanosecond earlier than your competition, you win. And then there you have an application. But then in the longer run, I think that the one interesting thing also, but that's in a longer time space. But the interesting thing is that the computing power grows in a quantum computer into the power of 2. So in the normal computers, if you need to double your computing power, you need to buy double the amount of servers. In the quantum computer, if you have a 100-qubit computer, if you want to double the computing power, 1 qubit more, and it has a double computing power. So that means that, okay, the computing power goes up exponentially, but the other way around also, that if you are able to calculate your stuff in a quantum computer, the energy consumption is much less in the future. But I think that that's still quite far away.
Yeah. Wow. That's really fascinating. So once the platform exists, there's going to be tons of industries, companies, people rushing to kind of play with the new technology and see how they can apply it, kind of what we're maybe seeing with AI.
Yeah, well, I think that the AI, now I think that AI is quite similar to internet. That first there were a few companies that were adopting it, but it's kind of a horizontal technology that it touches everything. Yeah. And I think that the AI, it's making massive changes to many things or all things. But as said, I think that in my head, AI is not separate of everything. It's part of everything. Yeah. And it's just a question of how do you apply AI in this area.
So it's not going to make sense in the future to talk about AI startups. It would be like a startup saying we're using electricity or internet to do our business.
Yeah, well, it's like as sensible as saying that we have these startups that use electricity in some form.
Yeah, like that's going to be a given.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting with quantum computing. One other kind of technology I wanted to talk about was autonomy and robotics, and maybe you want to treat those as separate. But that's been another, personally for me, like an example of where I was shocked reading about Waymo, so Google or Alphabet self-driving car company. They're doing like 250,000, probably more now, drives per week in 4 cities in the US.
Yeah.
And that means that like functionally, if you live in those cities, self-driving cars are already here. And they've taken a huge market share. And they're doing partnership with Uber. But like, do you think that we're going to see maybe already this year or in the coming years, like a big rollout of robotics across, maybe an industry, but also like consumer? And what do you think that's going to look like?
Well, talking about the timing and time lapses, I was investing 2014 into a company called AI Motive in Hungary that made actually very similar software stack for the self-driving cars as what Tesla is using today. It was sold to Stellantis 2 years ago, and it was 2014. My view was that in 5 years the self-driving will be here. Well, now it's 10 years and it's almost here, because if you're looking the Waymo way that how they are doing the self-driving, it's kind of a what I call the Pac-Man style, that you have a matrix that and then you're just driving your car in that matrix where you know everything. Like the way that Tesla is trying to do it is that you can that you think like a human and you can drive wherever, and that's like way more complex than how the Waymo is doing it. So I think that with the autonomous things, it's kind of the same steps that you get the first some specific tasks where you can use the autonomous technologies, and then kind of over time you get to the more generic things. And I think that the Waymo taxis is a really good example of that you have a kind of a limited functionality, even though it's perfect. That if you have a taxi service in one city, that's already a very big application. But I think that there is combining AI, robotics, all the other self-driving technologies or autonomous technologies. I think that that's a super powerful combination, and I think that in the industries we are going to see a lot more of the autonomous things and kind of a much faster tech cycles. I think that also, unfortunately, in the military tech, we are seeing already quite a lot of that stuff. And like last night, I was talking with one company that had a super interesting stuff on that side, where the everything, kind of all the hardware is really a commodity stuff that you can get from everywhere, but then having the mother brain that is controlling everything, and that's kind of the scenarios are quite dark if you are looking from that side, like that what kind of autonomous things you can build. And kind of I think that if you know the Boston Dynamics robots, and I've seen those a few times live, and it's not fun when it starts to follow you, and you can see the rails in the back of it, and wondering that what can you attach to that one. But I think that there is opportunities on kind of the spectrum is really wide, but actually the one thing where I think that there is on the automation side and on the robotics side, there is a really big help will be in the elderly care, because there is so many old people in the whether it's European countries, US, especially like Japan has those issues, and I think that there is if you can take away some of the repetitive tasks from the nurses and from the caretakers, I think that is something where there is a huge need on all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and, I think that's just endless.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was probably like, because you're working with companies that are at the cutting edge of technology, and you can see all those potential applications, good and bad.
Good and bad.
It must be very hard to kind of keep everything kind of.
Yeah, it's like
a lot of,
at times it's overwhelming.
Yes.
That when you're kind of thinking that what can be done.
Yeah, yeah. So. Let's go to another one, actually, because I know you're kind of at least a bit involved in materials sciences, material innovation, and I think it's something that probably is not talked about quite enough, given that I don't know a lot about it, but it feels like there's huge potential, and you make some breakthroughs there, and it could have like huge societal consequences. So any kind of area in that you think is really exciting?
Well, I think that's actually, I think that the well, several things. I think that the first one on the materials, I think that is food. I think that the food is also part of the material space. And well, looking at, like we have a company called Onego Bio, which is doing the vegan egg white and without the chickens. And if you are looking the process, how you today produce eggs, I think that from the sustainability point of view or ethical point of view or any other point of view, that's totally not sustainable, the whole thing. And kind of if there would be viable options for that, or any kind of a meat production or protein production, I think that that's something that will change and should be changed kind of as fast as possible. And the food is the volumes are just crazy.
Yeah.
That's something that in many industries you think that the billion is a big number. You go into food and it's $1 trillion.
Yeah.
It's just massive numbers. So that is something that I think that there will be a lot of change. There is a lot of opportunities. I think that there was some kind of a boom 5 years ago, but maybe not the right companies got the money. But I think that now it's kind of the hype is over, and now the real building starts.
Yeah.
And then kind of on the really ordinary materials side, I think that there is also the AI will actually bring on the kind of a molecule discovery, etc. There will be totally new ways of doing things, and I think that one has not even started yet. So kind of finding the new materials for our everyday life, etc. I don't know, but my feeling is that there will be something quite interesting coming from that side also, that when the different chemical companies can really kind of start to innovate with the super with the latest tools, because many of the material or many of these kind of industrial big conglomerates, they are doing the same thing that they did 50 years ago. No change. But I'm kind of I'm optimistic that there is a very much. The question there is then that is that the startup game?
Yeah.
Because it might be so that the bets that you need to put on the table are very big.
Yeah. But so you could see a future where using AI, we start to reimagine like pretty much all the materials around us to make them lighter, cheaper, more safe, energy. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. That's really, and the company you mentioned, the egg protein. I mean, if I remember correctly, they've announced plans to build a factory in the US. So that's where is that like soon to be to market? Like, are we going to see that very quickly?
I think that it's still actually now. I don't know the actual plans, but I think that's like 2 years away.
Okay. Yeah. Well, is it kind of on a molecular level the same as like an egg protein?
It's the bioidentical, so you don't know which one is which.
Okay. Wow.
So
that's because there are still so many people in the world who suffer from lack of malnutrition. And if you were able to deliver like really top quality protein and nutrients in a very low cost way, that would change.
Yeah, that's also it's just opportunities. I think that on that side, and also the kind of the waste of the natural resources, as we see today with all of the meat production and everything. I think that that's just opportunities. I think that all of the environmental stuff has been in the background for the last 2 years now.
Yeah.
But the need is still there, and we just need to move into the next wave. And the one thing which is there on all of these kind of new things and materials is that there is no green premium, or there is nothing can cost more. It's just a question that you need to find the efficient ways, and you need to the price points need to be right.
Yeah.
And because that, I think that was somewhat delusional a few years back when people thought that, okay, this is green, now it can cost 3 times more.
Yeah.
I think that the only place where that has been true is on the military tech. That if it's green and it's military, then it's 3 times more expensive. But I think that even that one is going away.
Yeah. Just to speak of that, I read some guy who said that he used to work for one of the big commodity companies in the US, and they had like a biofuel product or something like that. They did a business case for it and presented it to the management team, and one of them asked how much of our profit, the EBITDA, is actually if you exclude the subsidies, what's the profit? And it's negative 200%.
Yeah.
And okay, let's not mention that. Let's just go ahead. So they've been doing that. And because California still pays the subsidies, they're building this, and they're producing this stuff, and there's no incentive to make it more efficient because
that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's any business that's built on the kind of a regulation or some subsidies, that's going to be killed eventually. If you don't, of course. Early on in initial stages, it can be super expensive, but you need to have the cost down visible when you have the volumes and scales and the new generation. So otherwise, it's guaranteed to be dead.
Yeah, but that probably gives you, as an investor, a lot of confidence when a team is saying, "We got a product that's better." It's also with time, it's going to be cheaper.
That's the only type of a company where you can invest, and I think that. Once upon a time, there were so many replacements for plastic.
Yeah.
Or what people said that, okay, we have this beautiful thing. But then when you're asking that, okay, how much does the raw materials cost for this one? And then, okay, what are you replacing? And it's okay, the raw materials are 3 times more than the stuff that you're replacing. That, okay, next.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because, there is a great materials, but the price is really driving the volume adoption. There is no exceptions to that.
Yeah. I could talk a lot about different technologies, but also want to get time for some personal kind of business investment philosophy. So given that you've been in this game for a long time, is there something that you used to believe about business investing, startups, growth for a long time, but you've recently, last few years or so, changed your mind about?
Maybe not that much. It's kind of the idea that kind of seeing now a few times happening is that how it's so important that the owners of the company are very much aligned with the vision of the management team and kind of are willing also to take the risk together. And sounds super self-evident, but then seeing that in real life, in the startups, I think that it's kind of quite easy because it's kind of everybody's leaning in and trying to make the leap forward. But then going into the more established companies, that's very oftentimes there is a very different views on the ownership side, that how the company should be run, or should I get my dividends like I got for the last 50 years. And when the or the environment is changing, I think that it's very dangerous for companies to be in a standstill, that you should be always on the move and kind of trying to develop things. I think that that's something that have seen many times and kind of a super simple thing, but how important it is to be sure that everybody is on the same journey.
Yeah.
And maybe one thing from the last 6 months is that looking at the tools on the AI side, that how capable the systems are now, and what's the pace of the development, and like for example the quality that you can already today get from the coding side from the different AI systems, and where we are going when it's tomorrow and this time 2 years from here, that kind of seeing that how does the software evolve if it's kind of so easy to do even the more complex systems, and kind of that where do you get the where is your kind of a defensible place in the ecosystem in the different software sectors. And I think that that's something that I felt that it was quite static for a long time, but I think that now everything's in flux on that okay, how does this really go?
Yeah. I mean, as someone who I'm not following the space actively, but just seeing kind of from the parameters what's happening, it feels like there's a lot. Yeah. Okay, so, next one is a kind of a personal favorite from one of your fellow, or like another investor, Peter Thiel, asked about, do you have any contrarian beliefs about startup business investing that most of your peers would most likely disagree with?
No, well, that's again the thing that maybe should be asked from somebody else, but at least the one thing I feel strongly, and it's that if you are in the super early stage investing, it's it's not a consensus game. It's not something that you're voting with the team that if 3 out of 8 is okay, then we do the investment. Somebody needs to be in flames. Somebody needs to be super enthusiastic. Somebody need to be kind of wanting to defend the companies that you invest until the end. And not everyone needs to agree with that. That of course everybody in a team has the obligation and right to be opposing and trying to punch holes into the business cases. But if one of the partners want to do a case and after trying to punch the hole still once, I think that's the way you need to go, because the consensus in the early stage it just gives you the middle of the road stuff.
Yeah.
And the early stage investing is not the middle of the road. The further down the line you go, then you're kind of piling in on the winners. But in the super early stage, it's kind of finding the new ideas, doing the controversial things, and not everyone can be thinking the same way on the controversial things. So I think that's one thing that is baked really deep, at least into my thinking, that it's individual things.
Are there very early VCs that have a different approach there, like they're more consensus based, or they have?
No, I think that there's also kind of a thematic people that are investing into certain type of things, and whether it's enterprise software as a service or these days AI on some areas. And I think that that's a totally different way of doing it, that kind of that you're placing a lot of bets into some area where you think that, okay, this area will be really big, and while I don't know which one of these wins, then I'll just put 15 bets here and let's see which one wins. So I think that there is a definitely different type of strategies there.
Okay, final question. Given that, I mean, your job today is about making decisions, and you have to use a lot of judgment. You can't just look at an Excel sheet and say, okay, this company is going to have a higher IRR, whatever. So it's a lot about judgment about industries, about people, about the future of these people and industries. What kind of mental models do you use to make those decisions? Because the human brain can only gather so much information, and at some point you have to make a decision. So you have probably some ways to kind of simplify this massive, complex reality into actionable decisions.
Well, it's kind of the companies and the teams and the products and the markets are very different, and kind of having some kind of a model where it gives you points that okay, everything over 70 is an investment, and everything under is not. I think that it doesn't work that way, but you're kind of always thinking about the kind of the macro thing around the company, that okay, how does this industry work, and everything in a big picture. Then what's the product, what's the go-to-market and the competitive situation in that market, and then you look at the team, and kind of it's a cliche, but it always boils down to the people, that okay, this is the task, what the people say that they're going to do, that are they the right people to do it, and do they really have the capabilities there. Of course, no team is perfect on a day one, but then they need to grow and get more expertise in different areas. But that's kind of the thinking of the different parts of it, and then in the end of the day, it's always kind of a gut feel if it's yes or no. Because then if everything looks perfect, then you're kind of super scared that this cannot be.
It's too good to be true.
Because there is very seldom that comes this kind of a thing which says that okay, every single thing is yes.
Yeah. So it's about kind of, you have that initial gut feel, you probably get it within the first minutes or 10 dozen minutes talking to the team, and then going out and validating that gut feel by checking,
indeed. And then it's also I think that the interesting things are like that how can you develop the market, like in the case of IQM, the quantum computers doesn't exist, but everyone knows that if it exists, there will be a market. In the Wolt case, some people were saying that the food delivery market in Europe is so small that you don't have a chance. Well, it's kind of small when nobody's doing it. So being able to grow it and kind of trying to think really that, okay, which way is the market and the big picture going, and can we kind of create the momentum, or can we ride the momentum? And that kind of things that are not clear if you're just looking the Excel sheet, that okay, what's the static situation here?
Yeah, so it does take a lot of judgment and creativity. And
and there is the wrong decisions also, but this is unfortunately that's part of the business, that not everything goes as planned.
Yeah, it's a power law distribution, I guess, when it's really early stage. You need to find those outliers.
Indeed.
Ilkka, I really enjoyed our conversation, so thank you so much for coming on, and I would love to have a follow-up conversation maybe sometime next year or something like that, because I think with the things we talked about, it's moving so quickly that you could probably do on every month or so, and always have something new to talk about. So
the same questions, you have totally different discussion next year.
Exactly. So best of luck with everything that you and the team got going on with your portfolio companies, and pushing these new technologies and services to market, because it's obviously a lot of work and a lot of grit and a lot of sleepless nights, and I think it's really it's actually really, really important work for the world. I mean, these innovations can change the lives of people for the better, also maybe for the worse, some of these applications, but generally for the better in really dramatic ways. So best of luck with everything you're doing.
Well, thank you, and I think that's really the thing, especially today, that there is kind of the pace is really fast, and it needs to be really fast to make the change. Hey, thank you for the opportunity to come.
Thank you for listening. You can find all episodes of The Growth Pod on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.